dock leaf, very common in paddocks. A very large taproot containing a lot of energy, so difficult to kill. So a perennial weed found in grassland dock leaf. Another common weed of grassland, the nettle, also a perennial weed, tends to grow in clumps. We all know nettles can sting us. Now we have a narrow-leaf plantain, often a weed of lawns where it lives underneath the lawnmower's touch. Also can be found in fields, narrow-leafed plantain. Common dandelion, often found in fields and lawns. This is its flower, the yellow flower which you're familiar. Buttercup, another perennial weed, and what a perennial weed is, it means if you cut it, it'll just keep growing again. Annual weeds can only grow from seed, but they're uncommon in grassland except around water troughs and gaps and gateways. Very common weed of wetland, the rush. Not easily killed, tends to persist in wetlands, so drainage is the answer, although it does help to cut them and to spray with a weed liquor. And now we have the briar, another perennial weed, tends to spread from the ditches into fields. You use grazon, which attacks woody stems to kill it, grazon 90. The daisy, often found in lawns and also in paddocks. We can see the daisy flower that we're familiar with. Thistle, one of the 4 most common weeds in grassland, along with ragwort, docks and nettles. Ragwort, which is a biennial weed, which means it has a 2-year life cycle. This is year 1 of the ragwort. It's the rosette. Year 2, it'll develop into the yellow seed head with which we're all familiar. Ragwort is poisonous to stock, particularly so when it's cut or sprayed. Buttercup, another weed commonly found in grassland, also in lawns along with daisies and plantains and daisies. Buttercup can be crowsfoot buttercup, or what we're seeing here, the ordinary buttercup.
So yellow flag iris, commonly known in some parts of the countries as flaggers, also called philostrums, okay, but I suppose the proper title being yellow flag iris. So this is a weed that is commonly associated with wet or boggy ground, okay. You can see the rest of the paddock here is also covered in the soft rush, okay. So with yellow flag iris, it can grow up to 100 centimeters in height and has a yellow flower, which flowers during the summer between May and July. Okay, so the weed we have here is chickweed. Chickweed is commonly associated with reseeded swards or swards that were excessively poached, okay. So chickweed comes up through open or bare patches in the soil, okay. So it has a white flower and it is easily recognizable. So chickweed doesn't compete well with grass, so it's important, especially around the time of reseeding, that we establish a good dense sward, okay. So chickweed, it will be less likely then to come up through bare patches in the ground.
Right, so here we have a patch of waste ground which shows the extent to which weeds can take over. There's a mixture here of annual weeds with which you're less familiar. They grow from seed only, and perennial weeds which can grow from seed or from the root. So we'll use this as a kind of a revision because there's a lot of different weeds here. Thistle, dock leaves, mayweed, which is an annual weed, the yellow flower, charlock, one of the more significant annual weeds, can be a problem in reseeded ground because you're turning the soil over and exposing lots of seed. red dead nettle, an annual weed, thistle, buttercup, nettle, another common annual weed, cleavers or sticky backs, robin run the hedge, in more profusion over here. You can see the effect of annual weeds. They can really take over ground if they're not controlled, and can kill a reseed. Cocksfoot, which is a strong grass, not very palatable for animals. And finish off with charlock with its distinctive yellow flower.